Creating success out of failure. Creating success out of failure.
I'm Jonathan Federa. I'm here to inspire you to hustle and grow your income while doing what you love. Just because you have problems doesn't mean you can't prosper. Just because you have tragedy doesn't mean you can't triumph. Actually, you should be taking advantage of that.
There's positivity in my pain. I took scarcity and turned it into strength. I always tell life, there's not much you can do to me where I won't make an obstacle an opportunity. We never lose, we only learn lessons. If you wanna change your perspective. If you don't know how to do that, we'll show you how right now. This is about to go down. You are tuning in to creating success out of failure. Creating success creating success out of failure. Out of failure.
Welcome to Creating Success Out of Failure. I'm here with Jeff Ducharme, and we are going to go over a topic today that I think a lot of people need to hear about. And the reason I say that is simple. You know, a lot of people move up in life and they're not taught the basic, principles of business and what's going to get you from, let's say, that six-figure income or six-figure business to a 7, 8, or 9-figure business, right? And that's loyalty and relationships. Mm-hmm. So, Jeff, before we get going, why don't you tell everybody, because this is the second time you've been on here, but tell everyone what you're involved in and what you've kind of accomplished up until now.
Sure. So I'm known in different circles for different things. I own a lot of businesses, as you know, ranging from a business brokerage to owning part of the largest martial arts franchise in North America, to a consulting and coaching company, to real estate, and just a whole bunch of other things. I've ended up getting my hands into a lot of different things over the years I've built up. My very first business was actually a martial arts academy. I still have it. In fact, I've had up to 10 or 12 academies at any one time, still ongoing. Built some great teams there, had that for over 25 years, and then leveraged that to get into other businesses and do other ventures, including recent startups even. So that's taken me from a small business owner, an entrepreneur, started actually my first business when I was only 19. So it's been a while. And from there, kept growing and growing. But I hit a wall where I used to micromanage everything quite a bit, and then had some significant medical problems. In fact, I was told that I was going to die on a few occasions. And when I went through that, it kind of changed my style of how I ran my businesses. And I stopped micromanaging and started really scaling through using better systems and relationships and everything else it takes to run a significant business. And what that took me from was having what I would call a pretty successful business to a lot more. You know, when I grew up, I know both of us come from kind of humble beginnings. We didn't have a lot growing up, but we did all right eventually. I had great parents. I'm very thankful for them. But now I make probably more in a week than what I thought I would make in a year when I was growing up. And it's been because of the things that are put in place strategically, but also, to your point and what we're talking about today, through relationships. You know, when I was a kid, buying nice cars, buying huge houses, buying and having rental houses for that matter, and real estate, and having a portfolio, having assets, having a plane, those kinds of things, those weren't even on my radar. My mindset was so much different then. I knew I wanted to work and do things, but now it's just a total different game.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what we're going to talk about more today, is the whole idea behind relationships and what that opens the doors to.
Yep. Let me ask you something, Jeff. How many partners do you think you have across all those businesses?
Oof, quite a few now. Let's see. Let me see if I can add it up real quick. Probably more than a dozen right now. And I've had different partners throughout the years, and that doesn't even count some of the silent investors in some of the projects, but at least a dozen partners.
Yep. So I think one of the things that people don't understand is to get, first off, if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong fucking room, okay? Right. And some of the things that allow us to network at the level that we do is having a really solid reputation. And you get that by years of consistency, loyalty, and building the right relationship.
Right.
Right? So if I call you, I mean, we do this all the time. So this is just, kind of For those of you that don't know, we bounce ideas off each other all the time. And Jeff's one of the people that said, hey, I have a good investment. All right, send me the numbers. All right, here's a check. Almost sight unseen, and vice versa. But it's because our relationships mean more. And if Jeff thinks it's a great idea, I'm just gonna do some basic, analysis of it. If I like it, I'm gonna go in. But you don't get that way by not being loyal and by not having the right relationship. So Jeff, give us your thoughts on this.
Absolutely. So, and I'll relate it really easily to the real estate game, which both of us are obviously involved in. There's some people I know that every time they go to do a deal, they have to fly there, look at the house, do all the investigation, do all the background, yada, yada, yada. And then there's other deals, and this is mainly what I do, where I have relationships where somebody else is taking care of that for me. Somebody else has put the deal together, and I'm just putting the money into it, whatever it may be. So, for example, I had 2 houses a couple years ago in Memphis. I bought these sight unseen. Actually, there's 12 houses. I bought 2 of them, and 2 other friends of mine bought the other 10, 5 each. They flew out there and looked at them, blah, 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 blah. So the guy that put the deal together with the developer, he says, oh, you're going to fly out here? I said, no. Why would I fly out there? And this is a guy I had a relationship with for years and years. I mean, I trust him implicitly. So if he says the deal's good, the deal's good. And he does millions and millions and millions of deals all the time. And so I said, that's not my role here in this relationship. What am I going to do? Fly and go, ooh, look, it's a house. Yippee. It's an investment vehicle for me. And I know with the right developer, the right, investment guy that's putting the deal together, everything else, that it works because of that relationship. Now, we have that relationship because of years of working together and building up that trust or that relationship bank account. There have been a lot of deposits made to it, a lot of integrity, a lot of trust. So I bought those houses sight unseen, owned them for a few years. They appreciated so much. I planned to hold them for a long time, but they raised in value so much. But the rental market wasn't keeping pace. It could only rent for a little more than it originally could, but the value was through the roof. So I sold them both. In fact, through another relationship, I hooked up with this program that can sell them online specifically for rentals. Sold it both of them in less than a day for more than asking price.
Yep.
So let me recap. Bought houses, never saw them. Made money, sold houses, never saw them. All based on relationships of having the right people involved with me. And I made a significant amount of money on these houses. Never saw them. Never planned to see them. I've got a house in Oklahoma City right now. Same thing. It's up for rent. As soon as it rents, I'm probably going to sell it. Never seen it. Never need to see it. That's what happens when you have these right relationships. And like deals you and I have done, when you have the right trust and right loyalty, here's what happens. You know that everybody has a bias, like I'm in it for me. But some people are only in it for them, which means as soon as it's not convenient, they're going to stick a knife in your back. But there's other people that are going to look out for your interests that value you as much, if not more, usually more, than any particular deal or any particular dollar. In other words, if somebody can make an extra $500 off a deal or extra $5,000 off a deal, whatever, but they're going to violate the relationship, some people are okay with that. Long term, they don't get the right relationships. They don't get to sit at the right tables. They don't get the things that they see others getting because they don't get it. They don't get that you can't buy that for $5,000. You can't screw somebody over for $500 or $5,000 or even $50,000 because those relationships mean more. And the people who do get it, even if they're not at the top of the game, top of the dog pile, whatever it may be right now, they may not be rich. They may not have as much assets, whatever else. But if they get relationships, long term, that's how they move up. Whether it's in banking, real estate, business, anything. Short term versus long term. Those who want long term have to invest in relationships. Those who want short term screw everybody over. And after a while, word gets around. Because as you move up that echelon, as you move up the pyramid, so to speak, there's less and less of it, and we all talk. And you screw one of us, everybody else is going to find out. And magically, you don't get to do business anymore. You get shut out. We can cut off relationships. You and I especially, we know enough people. If we want to pull a trigger, somebody else does somebody wrong, we find out, we can just block them out, shut them out. And they're just not going to get access like they thought they would. And that's what so few people understand these days. It seemed like our parents understood that. Our parents' generation understood that a lot better, or at least more of them, I should say. More of them understood it. And it meant something. And you'd think that with today's day and age, with social media and everything else, you'd think people will figure out, shit's going to get around. You're not keeping too many secrets these days. So when you screw somebody over, it's such short-term thinking. And, oh, whoopee, I made $500 or I made 5,000 or whatever by screwing somebody over. That's just not smart. And I don't know why so few people seem to get that these days.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. And I just want to go over the ways that you could screw somebody over, right? One, not being responsible with their money, not completing a job that you said you were going to, complete, not quote doing the right things or honoring an agreement, or, and I see this a lot, stealing, and people don't understand that. You talked about earlier building up that trust bank with relationships. Well, guess what? You have to make a lot of deposits to actually build some level of equity.
Yep.
How many negative deposits or withdrawals can you make in that trust bank, Jeff?
Well, a lot of times it's one. A lot of times one can bankrupt it. Yeah. And so, and I think that's an important premise. I mean, you can make 10, 15, 20, 50, 100 deposits, but there's a chance that one could bankrupt the whole thing.
Exactly. I mean, this is a very, very crude way of saying it, but, you could bang all the girls you want, but you suck one dick and you're branded a cocksucker for life. All right? It's the same. It's no different here. Tell me I'm wrong. You go back on your word. You screw one person over that you shouldn't.
Yep, that's it. I mean, because if you've done it, here's the deal. Even if I find out you screwed over somebody else, it's not me. If you've done it once, I know you're going to do it again.
Yep. And like you said, when it's convenient for them, they can be loyal. And when it's not, well, they're going to look out for their own self-interest. Let me ask you something. You've taken a lot of people's money, Jeff. Okay? Yep. Are you more careful with someone else's money or your own?
Oh, I'm absolutely more careful with other people's money because, again, that's because I value that relationship more than the money. I can make more money. You and I know how to make money. But those right relationships, that's worth way more dollars. 100%. In fact, if something goes bad in investment, I've had investments where I've been the backstop. I've paid it off even though it took a loss. In fact, I have a relationship in Dallas, an investor who's done a lot with me. And we're good friends, and a deal went sideways with somebody that I trust who screwed me over. But here's the thing. My integrity, my commitment to him had nothing to do with my relationship over here. So that got screwed up, but I blocked him from that loss, and I took care of it for him. And that's just because, again, long-term, that's why he trusts me. When we go to do deals, he doesn't care what the details are. He knows if I've vetted the deal, it's solid.
Yep. I agree and back that 1,000%. Because Jeff's one of the only people that they said, hey, write me a check for $50,000. He's getting that check tomorrow. He wouldn't get a check. It'd be a wire. But, yeah. I don't write checks.
Yeah. What are checks?
But also think about this. Because you've built that reputation, okay, and we've built that reputation, how many more opportunities and deals do you see versus somebody else?
Oh, absolutely. So I've gotten invited to tables that I didn't even know existed. A few years ago, 4 or 5, however many years ago it was, I started getting invited to events with family offices. In fact, there's one group where literally your net worth has to be 100 million or better just to be a member. And so a lot of people don't even know groups like this exist. And so you're sitting in a room with 100, 500, whatever people where it's not even them. It's their delegates, their manager who manages their assets of $2 billion, where else. I've gotten brought into deals with them. I've gotten brought into other things because I had that relationship to begin with, because I proved that level of integrity, because I proved consistency, because I proved when something went bad in one of my companies or a deal or a service, whatever, I got on a plane, I fly there to fix it, to see what else needs to be happening with that relationship. There's a level of commitment, and these days, most people just kind of do the bare minimum to not get fired from a job or do the bare minimum to satisfy a relationship. And if you're known for only doing the bare minimum, you don't get invited. You don't get brought into other deals. You don't get access to other things. But when you show that you go above and beyond every single time, and then when you say something, you mean it, you follow through. Again, these days it's rare that somebody's consistent like that. Then all of a sudden, other doors are open to you. And sometimes you take care of somebody just because you're supposed to, and you realize they have the ability to make introductions for you or ability to bring you into something that you had no idea, but just because you're consistent and doing the right thing, showing loyalty, whether it be to the agreement, to the person, to the relationship, that's who they want. That's who they want to bring to the table. That's who they want to provide access to, because it's getting more and more rare these days.
Yep. And those people, if they're not 1,000% sure about you and your intentions, they are never going to vouch for you. They're never
Right.
going to
They're
make
not playing
that
Russian
introduction.
roulette. It's not like, oh, 5 out of 6 times you're cool, but 1 out of 6, you're screwed. You know, they're not going to play that game.
No, they can't. They can't, because
Nope.
reputation and integrity are everything. You know,
That's
and
it.
I see it, a lot of people coming up, they start making good money. They start, you know, feeling like, hey, they're on top of the world. And then they abandon what gets them there. They abandon
Yep.
having that sense of loyalty and doing the right thing. And guess what? Doing the right thing is always what you should be doing.
Yep.
You know?
A friend of mine, he's actually from Alabama. He has a saying. It's not his. I'm sure. I can't remember who the quote's from. But it's, remember who brought you to the dance. So if a girl gets brought to the dance by a guy and she talks to her friends, talks to other guys, whatever, you better remember who brought you.
Yep.
That's about loyalty. And to your point, there's a lot of people that get access or get, they start to level up a little bit, and they forgot who brought them in. They forgot who helped them. They forgot who was there for them when they needed them. Next thing you know, they're crapping all over them, and then wonder why all of a sudden they lose access.
Yep.
You know, loyalty has to be from ground level, not just once you get to hear, or what have you done for me lately? No, if you're loyal to somebody, it's not when it's convenient. Like we said before, it's every day of the week. It's every deal you do. It's everything you say. You're not going to say one thing to them and talk shit behind their back. You're not going to stick a knife in their back because you make a little more money or because it opens another door for you. Because when those people do that, they're sabotaging themselves. They don't even realize it. They're sabotaging themselves because everybody else sees exactly who they are. And today's day and age, people are getting more and more gun shy. They're getting hesitant. And once they've been screwed over a few times, they learn.
Yep.
You know, and they label you.
Well, let's think about it like this. I mean, how much harder is it today with social media going on and everybody out there talking, you know, they're making, you know, 6-7 figures. They have Lambos that are most likely rented.
Right.
You know, they don't have, if they looked at, you know, if you looked at their personal financial statement, you're going to see a whole lot of debt, not a lot of equity in anything.
Yep.
It's hard to vet people. It's hard to vet people. You know,
Absolutely.
and everybody talks a big game. What I would say is watch people's actions and watch their relationships. If it's someone that's always burning relationships, or one day this guy was their, you know, champion or best friend, and then, you know, they don't even talk 6 months later, that's a telltale sign. What other telltale signs would you see, and how do you vet people before you
Absolutely.
go
And I think what you just mentioned is huge. When you see people, they're on that honeymoon of the relationship, and like they're their best friend, their BFF, whatever else. And then, and I've done this to a few people where I go hit their friends list. I notice, oh, you're not friends with them anymore. Interesting. They're your best buddy 6 months ago. And I'll literally take screenshots. I've got records on some people. And you know some of them. Anyway.
I bet I do.
And so it's interesting to track certain people and what they say and what they do. And I think you're 100% right. Always pay more attention to the actions than the words. Just like there's some gurus out there that say, hey, do this, do this, do this. But then you see them doing something totally different. And to me, I'll follow what people do way more than what they say. And then when it comes to vetting people, again, it's all about relationships. I want to know who do you know? I mean, if somebody comes to me and we have nobody in common, and I don't just mean common like on Facebook friends, I mean real relationships. If we don't have anything in common, that's a problem usually. And I'm not saying this to be egotistical, but I know a lot of freaking people, okay? And there's not many people who are more than like 2 degrees of separation from me. So if I don't know them, or if I can't ask 4 or 5 close people that don't know them, then who the hell are you? So it's one of those things where you've got to have some level of connectivity. And think of it this way. In fact, I just had to have this done. So I'm getting 6 roofs replaced, mine and 5 of my rentals here in town. They just got all destroyed from a recent storm, right? So every time there's a storm, every Tom, Dick, and Harry with a freaking truck and a ladder comes into town thinking they're a roofer, right? And you get these people even from out of state. They're not bonded. They're not insured, but they run a good game. They can talk a good game on the front end. They sell some people, and they screw them over. Happens all the time in every city in the United States. And one of my rentals right now, these are 5 townhomes, so each one are doubled up. So it's 2 homes connected, right? So it's one roof. My guys are a big company, licensed, bonded, a lot of people, great reputation, solid, take care of stuff. one of my neighbors is a landlord. They hit me up. Oh, I got this guy's going to do this, this, and this. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not using him. He can coordinate with my guys. My guys offered to buy him out of his contract. Say, tell you what, we'll pay your full commission, what you were going to make. We'll just contract out the job. We'll do it all for you, so you don't have to do anything. He's like, no, I want to do it. He's a single guy, one truck, one ladder. He's going to try to do it all himself. He's going to screw it up. If people will not be unhappy, he's going to do probably crappy work if he even finishes it. So whether it's a roofer or anybody else, when you vet those relationships, there has to be some substance. There has to be some track record. There has to be proof of success. You know, social proof, sometimes you'll call that. And when I say social proof, I don't want to see a picture of you with a Lamborghini, as you said, probably rented. I want to see clients, and I want to see real results for your people, not just you. And if I can't see that, or there's any question about it, if it looks fake at all, or else I'm out, you know? And so I'm skeptical of anybody that comes to me that I'm not connected with in 4, 5, 10 different ways to be able to ask them about it. So if I know somebody, I ask you about them, you tell me, yeah, no, you don't even want to talk to them. I say, okay, good, we're done. So there needs to be some, almost like a spider web, there needs to be connected somewhere on that web. If they're not, they're suspect from day one. And so they're gonna have to do a lot to prove to me that I should even waste any time on them. And that's not to be mean, not to be a jerk. It's just that if you've done something or done something right for somebody, even if you're new in business, what did you do for your job before that? I mean, you could be a new business. I don't have a problem with that. Who'd you work before that? Were you good at that job, or did you screw them over? Have you been through 17 jobs because you can't keep one? I don't know. So I got to see these things as track record. Kind of like if you go to date somebody and they've been through 14 boyfriends in the last year, well, you think you're going to, be number 15 and finally she's going to be loyal? I doubt it. Okay. So, your track record speaks for yourself, whether it be personal or business relationships. So to me, that's a big thing. It's just proof of concept, proof of who you are, not just what you do, who you are. Show me a time when shit went bad and how'd you fix it? Did you just disappear? Just screw people? Did you charge back everybody? How'd you handle it? So I know that there's gonna be a lot of times when something goes bad, whether it's an investment, whether it's a service, where things go bad, period. I don't care who you are. But then it's how do you recover? How do you take care of that? When something pops up, do you solve it? Do you make excuses? Do you try to point fingers at other people, or you take accountability? And to me, that's huge, because if I know I can count on somebody, I can count on when things are going right and when things go wrong, which inevitably at some point they are. But it's just how you take care of it, how you recover that matters.
I mean, I think a big misconception is, even these circles, everything goes right. That almost never happens. Right. I mean, that's how you learn. Like I say, I stepped on every landmine and I'm still stepping on them. It's just, you recover and you work through them. I mean, I had 2 deals because I always knew I wanted to get into real estate investing at an early age. I had 2 deals that were complete fraud. And, one of them cost me about $25,000. And this is when I was like 21. So it definitely hurt. I paid off all the debt. And I took my lump. And then another one was probably for about $30,000. And again, paid off all the debt. That happened. I had a brokerage where my partners weren't doing the right thing. Similar types of things. I mean, you can't expect everything to go right all the time. And you know what? Even if everybody has the best intentions and things go wrong, you just make it right. Okay. Right. And as long as you didn't have bad intentions, no one's going to hold that against you. Okay, just make it right. One of the things that I think we should cover is, let's just say someone's starting off or they're young in entrepreneurship or sales. What do you think the best way is to get access, like to someone like you, or to get a seat at least one of those, bigger tables that you use as a stepping stone?
So I think the biggest way, and I think this is a really important question, is to show up and add value. Show up and add value. Too many people are concerned with the short term. In other words, they show up and go, I want a job. I want you to pay me this much or this much. They have all these demands. It's like, if you want a seat at the table or want access to stuff I can give you access to, you better show me something. Show me you can add value. And I don't even know always what it is. I don't know what your skill sets are, but I've had people come into my life, and I'm sure you have too, that say, look, I just want to be around. I'll do anything it takes. And hey, I'll wash your car for you. I'll do this, whatever it is. Don't pay me. Don't care. And I'm not saying this like some type of indentured servitude type thing. But if you want access to something, there has to be an exchange of value. There's too many people, and I know it's a word that's thrown around a lot, but it's one that is one of my hot buttons, entitlement. And I'm not talking about any government programs or else. I'm talking about entitlement when it comes to work. These kids are being graduated from high school, and they've been told, you're special. You can do anything you want. Well, you can, but you got to work for it. And you don't graduate high school with a six-figure job, a company car, a cell phone, and an expense account. That's not how life works. You've got to earn it. It's not being given to you. I know your mommy and daddy might have given you a lot of stuff, but I'm seeing all these high school kids right now, and I get access to something because the families I know, people I'm around. There's kids like, they're not grown adults yet, but they're 17, 18, and mommy and daddy are still making all the decisions for them. These are the kind of kids that go get a job, but mommy fills out the application for them. And when the first thing goes wrong, guess what? Mommy's calling. Well, here's the deal. Your mommy calls me, you're done, okay? I didn't hire your mommy. So, and I'm seeing this. It's becoming very prevalent. Just like the parents do their homework for their kids. I'm like, what are you doing? You know, they're like, oh, I just want to make sure they get a good grade. I'm like, so you're setting them up so that when they get to college, you were trying to get into college, right? Okay, cool. Now they're going to be so ignorant, they're going to flunk out of college because you ain't going to be doing their homework there, are you? You know, so
It's crazy.
I'm seeing this. And what that's breeding is this sense of entitlement with these kids that everybody else is going to hand things to them. Everybody's going to take care of them. They're going to wipe their butt for them. You know, they can't show any initiative. And it's sad because it's not they're dumb. There's some very talented, very creative kids out there. When I say kids, I mean teens, 20s, whatever, right? And so what they need to have beyond the creativity, beyond the intelligence, is the humility to show up and say, hey, I know I need to add value here, whatever way I can. And if I add some value and show up and willing to do that, then I'll absorb and have access to some of the things I'm provided. And I'm not going to take it for granted. I'm not going to act like I'm doing you a favor for showing up to work. You know, I hear some of these kids, well, I should get paid more because I showed up on time every day this month. I'm like, that's what you get paid to do, you freaking moron. You know, in fact, you should have been 10 minutes early. But that's the kind of crap that's put in their head right now. So if you want to get access, you need to approach things with a sense of humility and ask, how can I add value? What's going on? And assess the situation. Say, hey, I see this and this going on. Could I show up and help with this? I'll volunteer. There's nothing wrong with volunteering. Some people think volunteering is only for nonprofits. Okay, that's good. Hey, great. You should be giving. I give of time and money a lot to nonprofits and charities. That's great. How many people volunteer to business? I've had a few. Okay. Yeah. And oh, by the way, one of them now has access to every dollar I own, gets paid well in the six figures, and has stock in multiple companies of mine that she didn't buy. I gave to her. Okay. And you know, that's Beth. Okay. Yep. She volunteered awesome. First. Yeah. And she has a master's degree that I put her through master's. She was already a nurse at a neonatal intensive care unit. So she's very accomplished. I kind of stole her away, and she started working and loved what I was doing and volunteered for a while, and then got paid. Now gets paid significantly more and has full access to everything, can take vacation whenever she wants. So she's done well. And there's been other people who have done similar. So there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I'm going to volunteer here for a little bit. And somebody thinks, well, I'm not an intern. I'm 30 years old. Okay, well, do you want access or not? What do you have to offer? Because if you don't have the skill set or the wherewithal to get into that kind of relationship on your own, well, give of your time, give of your skills, show that you deserve it. And I'll tell you what, it's so rare that I can almost guarantee that you're going to be given more because of that. Showing the work ethic, the commitment, the loyalty to be a part of something, it's going to get you in the door. But like I said, most people just aren't willing to do it because it looks like work.
Yeah. And I can tell you, I don't think anyone would disagree with any of that. If you showed up, you did what you're supposed to do, and you asked for more, you're going to get it. And then that's how you move up. That's being a good human and showing that you want more out of life and that you can handle more. I'll give you two more. Charities, boards of charities. Oh, yeah. I am on two boards of local charities here in Long Island, and they are, the majority of people on that board are all significant heavy hitters. I'm talking, you know, CEOs of banks, CEOs of some of the largest companies, you know, in the area, and everybody's there for the right reasons, right? They want to push the charity along, raise a lot of money, but they're also there to network, right? So that's a good starting point. Now, that might not be for everybody because you have to have certain credentials to sit at that table. But one that you can do, and that this is how me and you met, Jeff, is you could, I don't want to say buy a seat at the table because you really can't, Um, but you can buy into a good coaching program.
Yep.
Okay, you are a coach on one of them, and you can network there. Now, as long as you do the right thing and you're a good person when you're doing that networking, you have a shot. What do
Yeah.
you think? What do you think of those?
Oh, absolutely. And again, that's inserting yourself in around the right people, especially those programs that vet people.
Yep.
In other words, they don't just accept everybody. And so if you can get your foot in the door, absolutely. And again, there, it's even more important to have that loyalty, that integrity, to be trusted. Because if you're not, you're going to get put out real fast and word gets around real fast. You and I have both seen that happen. And so buying into something like that is definitely a great investment, because if you invest in the right ones, not only do you get skills, knowledge, access, but then relationships to the right people. And here's what I know. There's some people that are never willing to invest in themselves. And I don't really want to be around those kind of people. It's the wrong mindset. So as soon as I get into a program, and it's not just about the dollar amount, but it's what it says about the person. If they're plopping down $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month to be a part of a program, or 20 or 30 grand a year, that tells me something about the kind of person they are. Not just the level they're at, but the kind of person they are and what they believe in to further themselves. And that kind of mindset goes a long way. So being at that kind of table is a lot different than showing up at, say, a local meetup that's free. And I'm not saying those are bad. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. But if there's a local meetup, it may or may not have some good people and may have a bunch of idiots. If there's a paid program or mastermind or group, whatever it may be, it's not just the fact that somebody paid, but it's a commitment. It's kind of like if somebody gets something for free, they take it for granted. If they pay for it, they have skin in the game, they have commitment. Absolutely. And that's reflective of their own mental attitude and how they do things. And so through that network, we get access to their relationships, the people they know. That might be a way to get an intern or to get a new hire, to get an employee, get another contractor, another vendor. So a lot of us share those relationships because we can say, hey, I've got this person that does merchant services. They can help you. Hey, I've got this person that does graphic design. They can help you. I've got this person that does fulfillment for apparel, T-shirts, water bottles, whatever it may be. And we share some of that across those lines. And so I think that's a great way to expand those relationships and to build loyalty across those as well.
Yep. I can tell you I almost never actually shop for certain services for my business.
Yeah, absolutely.
I make a post in the networks. And just to be clear, guys, the networks that we're talking about is Apex, where Jeff is a coach. I can vouch for it. I've been through there. I'm a member. And Arete. Okay. Those are the two networks I would lean on. Okay. Are there others that could be great? I'm sure there are. But I don't want to speak to anything that we don't know here for 100% fact. I can tell you that for every dollar I've paid into those networks, I've probably made 3 or 4. Right. But you have to do the work and you have to do the right things by people. Not doing the right things gets you banned and cut off. And that's not just in those networks. That's just in life. People don't understand that if you're chasing the short-term money, you're never going to get the long-term money. And this life is about consistency.
Yep. 100%.
What else you got for us, Jeff?
So I think the other thing about loyalty in the long term, it's kind of like a relationship, kind of like a marriage. So there's people that have been with you, a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever it may be. And I think that some of the loyalty, it goes both ways. It goes to the person, whether it's employee, employer, whether it's two people that just work together, two people that have known each other, whatever it is. I think that some of the people these days, they're so focused on new and shiny, they forget the real value of long-term relationships. And to me, there's people like you. I mean, if you text me right now and said, hey, there's an emergency, I need you, I'd get on a plane right now and fly there. And likewise. I've got other people in my relationships that are that way. And I have some people I've known 5, 10, 20 years plus, 30 years even now. And I think we get so obsessed with new and shiny that sometimes people chase a new relationship or chase a new vendor or a new employee or whatever it is, and they forget about the employee they've had for 10 years or the vendor or partner, whatever else has been around that's been there for them since day one, from ground zero. And I think if people would invest or remind themselves of the value of that kind of relationship, that they would be happier and they would reap more rewards because of it and be able to do more. If somebody's been with you or been around you or been loyal to you, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, there's something there. And that can't be just taken for granted or thrown away. And I think too often people do. So I think earlier we're talking about how to get to that point, how not to just think short term, how to think long term. But I think then just continuing that sustainability is reminding yourself of those relationships. And here's one of the questions I ask some of my clients too. When's the last time you reached out to those people? You know, maybe they're not your employer or employer, whatever else. Maybe they are. But say you've had an employee for 10 years and you're always worried about the new employee and keeping them involved. When's the last time you had a handwritten note or sat down with an employee you've had for 10 years and talked to them and reminded them how important they are? Not just sign their checks. I mean, actually reminded them of how important they are. When's the last time a friendship, a business relationship you've had for 5 or 10 years or more? When's the last time you've reached out to them? And I don't mean just like one of their stupid memes on social media. I mean, really reached out to them, send them a note, either online or preferably handwritten, send them a recorded thing or send them a video, sat down for coffee with them, whatever. When's the last time you made another deposit into that relationship bank account? Not just taken for granted and, oh, yeah, they've always been here. No. Continue to build that relationship and remind them of the fact they matter. Because if you don't remind them, after a while, they start to wonder. It's kind of like personal relationships. If you're married and your husband or wife doesn't feel appreciated, and it's been about 5 or 10 years since they felt appreciated, they might be finding somewhere else to go. You know, what was it? Ron White talks about the fact, says, you know, I'm a good dog, but if you don't scratch me behind the ear every once in a while, I'm going to go sleep on somebody else's porch. Just saying. So I think the same is true with all of our relationships, you know, friendships, business relationships, you know, whatever it may be. It's good to sometimes just kind of rewind and review and go, who haven't I reached out to in a while?
Yep.
And if you don't want to make them feel taken for granted, reach out.
I agree. I mean, gratitude gets you everywhere in life. And
absolutely.
I will say you hit the nail on the head with the shiny bouncy balls. Everybody thinks the grass is greener on the other side. The truth of the matter is the grass is greener where you water it, where you invest, and where you put in a lot of time, effort, and energy. And you're focused.
Yep.
Right? If you're focusing on it, it's going to, you know, come out the way you want. And when people are looking into new ventures, anything that's new and shiny, you're seeing what that new venture wants you to see, right? It's like the rented Ferrari. You don't really know if they have that or not, you know? And I have news for you. Most people that really, really have those types of assets don't often flaunt, you know? I know you would never tell, you know? You could never tell.
Yep.
But I'm going to tell you something. The people that are always flaunting it, there's a reason that they're always flaunting it, okay?
Right.
It's not, it's not because they want to show how beautiful the car is. They're trying to make a statement. People that don't need to make the statement because other people really know how they're built and what they're about, don't really flaunt that stuff.
Yep.
No. Not that it's not. Let's go over what I'm saying because I don't want to butthurt.
Well, and some people show it to inspire people. To me, that's different. Some people will show it and explain, hey, I'm showing this not to impress you, but to impress upon you. Or I'm showing you this to say, hey, I came from here, now I'm here.
Yep.
And explain that. To me, that's inspirational.
That is.
But there's a lot of these guys, there's a term for it, I'm not going to say it, but that just want to show these pictures off all the time and try to flex. It's like, dude, you're fake as hell. In fact, I'll give you an example. I won't name him. I spoke at an event. I was on stage, spoke at an event, and this one guy who was there, I knew was having financial problems. Nice guy, but I knew he's having financial problems. Literally 2 weeks later, I find out through my network and people I know who know him, he's getting his house repossessed. He's losing his house, getting kicked out. The week after that, he's posting pictures on the beach with his laptop going, I'm about that life. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm like, dude, you're so full of shit. You just had your house repoed, okay? And I'm not judging you because of that. I mean, hey, I've been broke as hell. I've literally been homeless. So I'm not saying like, oh, you're a terrible person. But if you're here, don't lie and be full of shit and say all this stuff, okay? Own where you're at. If you can help people, but stop lying. And to me, that's the problem, is the lies people tell about how much they make, the lies people tell about what they own. You don't need to do that. Now, if you own something, you want to create a story about it and use that to inspire people, great. If you have something cool and use something to make money out of it, cool car, make money, cool watch, make money, great. But if you're just trying to show it to pretend you're at a different level and to try to fool people into buying your shit, dude, that's so fake and so obnoxious. I just want to punch people in the throat. I mean, I really do. If that was legal, every day.
I know it would be deadly. I'd run out of bail money for you, Jeff. Honestly.
Right.
What I think it shows and what people need to realize is eventually that truth is going to come out.
Yes.
Whereas if you came to the table and said, "Hey guys, this is what I'm struggling with," that's going to enable you to get help. Okay, you don't want to put ad after ad after ad with the Ferrari, the Rolex, if it's not accurate. If it's accurate
Yes.
and you're using it, like Jeff said, to inspire people, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
You know, but don't use it. Once you start that one lie, it's a consistent snowball effect, and it builds and builds and builds. And guess what? People always find out. The truth always comes out eventually. You know, and then there's really not a lot that you can do to recover from that.
Right.
You
So
know?
now you're a fraud. Yeah.
Yeah. I've had great months. Okay. Prior to COVID, I was absolutely crushing it by most people's standards. You know, I'm still doing okay, but it wasn't, you know, did I take a little bit of a hit? Absolutely. Now, did I, you know, that's real, you know, that's being real. That happens.
Yeah.
But that happens in everybody's cycle. Like, you can't always expect that, you know, your income and your earnings is going to go straight up. You're going to have to take steps back. I also invest a lot of my money. I don't like, you know, not that I don't like flashy things. It's just, I rather put my money elsewhere. I know, Jeff, you know, for every really nice thing that you have, there's a lot underneath that where you're building this base. I mean, very similar to what I do.
Exactly. So for me, so I've wanted nice things for a while, and I had these dreams, aspirations, goals, and I've gotten a bunch of them. But I use my other investments to help pay for that. So like you, I wanted to make my money work for me. In other words, there's a lot of kids that come from nothing like I did, but as soon as they make a few bucks, they blow it all. They go buy something cool, whatever else. They buy a Rolex. Right? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Rolex. I have multiple. But I could have bought them a long time ago, and I waited. So now my passive income and other things are spinning off. I've got deals so that I can more than afford those. There's people that, you know, what I call the LA lifestyle. I'll poke fun at LA and California in general because it can just fall off in the ocean as far as I'm concerned. But I digress. There's a lot of people in LA, they drive a badass car, they got Rolex, and they're in debt up to their butt. And they've got lawn furniture inside their house because they can't even afford furniture. You know, but they want to flex and try to impress people with what they rented. And they may even be renting the Rolex, by the way. Some do that now too. It's just so fake. It's so fake. It's sickening. And it's like, you know, and out here, so I live in Nebraska, as you know. Out here in the Midwest, a lot of millionaires and multimillionaires drive a truck, an older truck sometimes even, and they're not trying to flex, but they got 10 million in the bank or in investments. So, and I think that's part of it is having the humility that, hey, you can get some nice things. I'm not saying, you know, you got to live like like you're Amish or something. Not there's anything wrong with Amish people, but you know what I mean? You know, but we have to have some sense of balance here where you don't try to over leverage. Like somebody makes $100, but they go buy $1,000 worth of stuff and put it on credit cards, whatever. And that's what buries people. And then they wonder why they can't get ahead. Next thing you know, they're 40 years old and their personal financial statement has no assets. They have no net worth because they've just blown it all. And to me, it's not just about making money. It's about growing net worth, growing wealth, growing those assets. And I think that's what, again, a lot of people miss on. And back to our relationship discussion, the right relationships are what opens up opportunities to add to those assets and add significantly to your personal net worth.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you this, and I'm almost positive you'll agree. I rather do 3 or 4 deals with trusted people than do 1 or 2 by myself.
Oh, absolutely.
Every time. Why? Because one, when we come together, there's more brain power there, and we can source and vet the deals together better, which is, we've done that. And also, I rather have 3 or 4 opportunities for investments that, hey, if one shits the bed, guess what? Yeah. There's still these other 3 that you're going to account for, rather than, hey, let's just put everything we have into this, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And that's just,
that's like having insurance. You're insuring yourself by having other people involved and diversifying your deals. You know, and when you look at stuff like that, I'll give you a good example, by the way. A lot of people, when something bad happens, then they go, never again. I'll never again do that. And that's dangerous. Here's why. When it comes to relationships, somebody has a bad business relationship or a bad partner, and they go, I'll never partner again. Screw this, da-da-da-da. I've had some bad partnerships. In fact, I had to have one of my partners served papers, including a restraint order, and then had to have him thrown out of my business, change the locks, everything else, because there's 12 bench warrants out for my arrest because of the fraud that he pulled as my business partner and everything else. I had to clear all this up. It was bad, like really bad, okay? Another partnership, she was my ex, but I was dumb enough to put her name on a bunch of my businesses and my house and my building and everything else. So based on those experiences, I could have said, never again, never. But if I do that, that shuts me off from potential opportunities to work with you, work with other partners I have that are very rewarding. So if you have a bad deal, don't let that shut you down from trying other deals, trying other partners. It doesn't mean they're all bad. It means you had one go bad. Yippee. You didn't marry the first girl you dated, probably, or the first guy you dated. So just because you had one relationship go bad doesn't mean you piss them all away. So I've had a few bad partnerships, but I've had a lot of great ones. And I'm not willing to throw that away or sacrifice that just because one or two weren't loyal or weren't good. And so we've got to stay open to that and willing to take that risk, put ourselves out there. Because if not, we play small. And I don't want to play small ever again. I want to play bigger. I want to play with other people. And I'd rather make a small piece of a bunch of big pies than a big piece of one small pie by myself.
1,000%. And let me ask you, the few times that things have gone sideways, because I had one. I had the partner that was going and doing hookers and cocaine in St. Martin on the company card.
Nice.
Yeah, no, really, like $500,000 to the tune of $500,000.
Wow.
Yeah. Go look up. Well,
we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, talk about it later.
That's got a lot of points on your Amex, though, right? That's a lot of points on Amex.
No, the dumbass used the debit card in the ATM.
Damn it.
Yeah. Yep. That's how we found it. But when things go wrong, you need to analyze it on both sides. Well, listen, if this partner screwed you, or you got sideways here, or you hired this person to do a job and they didn't do it, what were the warning signs? Do you learn from that, or do you just blindly throw in again? My warning, my signs with that one example we were just talking about, I didn't have access to the bank account. Note to everybody listening, if you're going to do something like that, your partner doesn't have access to the bank account, you probably shouldn't give it to his accountant to do the taxes. Because guess what? His accountant's going to call him and ask, well, how'd you guys blow $500K in T&E? Just saying. All right?
But yeah, to your point, you look back and you recognize, what did I miss? Or what did I trust? There's a saying, trust but verify. I think that's from Ronald Reagan. Trust but verify. And so there needs to be systems in place that are part of that. And so if you don't have that, you're opening yourself up to a lot of liability and a lot of problems. And so I think that's one of the good things to move forward with, is just trust but verify. Have 100%. Ways, have checks and balances, or you want to call it ways just to check in and make sure everything's happening the way it's supposed to happen.
I love it. Jeff, I thank you for coming on. Where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you, or if they want to be coached personally by you?
Sure, absolutely. So a couple ways. So my name is Jeff Ducharme. Last name is spelled do us harm. So you can find me on social media, or to make it easy, just go to contactjeff.com. Love
it. Well, thanks again. And guys, if you got anything out of this, I'm sure you got a ton, because every time Jeff comes on, he's dropping knowledge bombs left, right, and center. Share this with somebody that needs to hear it.
Thanks for tuning in to Creating Success Out of Failure. Please share this with someone that needs to hear it, post it on social media, and leave us a 5-star review. I'll catch you on the next one.
Creating success out of failure.